New and exciting.
Hi and welcome to the Toplines and Tales Livestock quiz, and the response we had to our first quiz was so good that we're now going to carry on running this as a pod quiz. So this is the Toplines and Tales Livestock Pod Quiz number 2. So, Toplines and Tales Livestock Pod Quiz number 2, and round 1, as in last week, round 1 is on shows, but this time it's a bit more international because it's on global agricultural shows, so agricultural shows around the world. And question 1, Palermo Show is based in which city? Palermo Show is based in which city? Question 2, the Paris Agricultural Exhibition is held in which month of the year? The Paris Agricultural Exhibition is held in which month of the year? That's question 2. Question 3. The National Western Livestock Show is held where? The National Western Livestock Show is held where? Question 4. Chicago International Show was one of the greatest shows on earth. It started in 1899, but it finished when? It was then moved to Louisville, I believe. So what year did the Chicago International Show finally finish? Question 5, Agribex, I'll spell that A-G-R-I-B-E-X. Agribex is held where in June every 2 years? It's a show that's held every 2 years in June. So where is it? Question 5, Canada's Agribition Expo is held in which city in Canada? Canada's Agribition Expo is held in which city? Question 6, which is the biggest cattle show in Australia? Which is the biggest cattle show in Australia? It's one I've been to. Hey, it may be contentious, but I believe I'm right. Question 8. The World Aberdeen Angus Forum is held every 4 years. Where is it going to be next year? So in 2025, the World Aberdeen Angus Forum, where is it going to be? Question 9. The Golden Shears sheep shearing competition, which is the world shearing competition, was held in Edinburgh last year. Where is it this year? So in 2024, where is the Golden Shears going to be held? And question 10, the Royal Smithfield Show held its last event in Earl's Court in London in which year? The Royal Smithfield Show held its last event in London in Earl's Court. Which year? That's the end of round 1. As with last week, the second round is on sheep. So a round on sheep for 10 points, 10 questions. Question 1. The Merino sheep originated in which country? The Merino sheep originated in which country? Question 2. Charolais sheep and Charolais cattle differ in spelling. How? Charolais sheep and Charolais cattle differ in spelling. How is that? Question 3. Cammy Wilson and a few of his pals rescued a sheep from the cliffs below Cromarty Firth at the back end of last year. So I want to know what that sheep was called. What was her name? Cammy Wilson rescued a sheep from the cliffs of Cromarty Firth with some of his mates with a rope and fetched it down. It was on all the newspapers, all over the television. What was the name of that sheep? What's the name they gave to it? Question 4. The Kerry Hill sheep comes from which UK county? The Kerry Hill sheep comes from which UK county? Question 5. What is the most numerous breed of sheep in New Zealand? What is the most numerous breed of sheep in New Zealand? Question 6. The UK has the largest sheep population in Europe. Which country has the second largest in Europe? So the UK has the largest sheep population in Europe. Which country in Europe has the second largest sheep population? Question 7. The Zworpel breed of sheep originates from which country? The Zworpel breed of sheep originates from which country? Question 8. Globally, are there more cattle in the world or sheep in the world? Okay, this is a sheep question, but that's not necessarily the answer. Are there more cattle in the world or sheep in the world? Question 9. In the mid-1700s, the entrepreneur Robert Bakewell popularized what breed of sheep? So in the mid-1700s or late 1700s, Robert Bakewell popularized what breed of sheep? He popularized longhorn cattle, for your information, but I want to know what breed of sheep. And question 10, which country has the largest sheep population in the world? Which country has the largest population of sheep in the world? That's the end of round 2. Toplines and Tales Livestock Podquiz round 3 is a specialist round. We had a specialist round in the first one, specialist round again, and this week the specialist round is on beef. So it's simply on beef. Question 1 of round 3. What slang word do the French sometimes refer to the English? So what do the French call us English sometimes, the slang word that the French use to refer to the English? Question 2. What is the most commonly cut of steak in the USA? What steak do they eat the most of in the USA? What's the most commonly cut of steak in the USA? Question 3. Tomahawk and T-bone steaks are the same thing. True or false? Tomahawk and T-bone steaks are the same thing. True or false? Question 4. Wagyu beef has another name in Japan. Wagyu beef has another name in Japan. What is it? So what do they call Wagyu? It is sometimes called Wagyu in Japan. Question 5. What are the 3 grades of beef in the USA called? So American listeners in there will all know this by heart, but see about the rest of you. What are the 3 grades of beef in the USA? And I'll give half a point if you get 2 of them. Question 6. Per capita, which nation consumes the most beef in the world? So that's per person. Which nation consumes the most beef in the world? Question 7. In volume, which country consumes the most beef in the world? In volume, which country consumes the most beef in the world? So which country eats the most beef in the world? Question 8. The bavette is a popular cut of beef in France. What is it called in the UK? So the bavette, you find it in all the restaurants in France. What is the equivalent of it in the UK? Question 9. I said there was only 8 questions. There are actually 10 in this round, so apologies. Question 9. To maintain the price of beef in Europe, in 1986 the UK government started buying and cold storing beef. What was that scheme known as? So to maintain the price of beef in Europe in 1986, the UK government started buying and cold storing large carcasses of beef. What was that scheme known as? And question 10 on our beef round. Sirloin takes its name because it was knighted by an English king. Sirloin takes its name because it was knighted by an English king. True or false? Thank you, that's the end of round 3. There's no logo round this week, so now the final round is round 4, and the final round this week is on cattle. So 10 questions on cattle. Question 1. The Belgian Blue, now known as the British Blue, was brought into the UK in which year? The Belgian Blue, now known as the British Blue, was brought into the UK in which year? When was the Belgian Blue brought into the UK? Question 2. Brahman cattle were developed in the USA from what Indian breed? The Brahman cattle, known for their heat resistance, obviously were developed in the USA, but from what Indian breed did they come from? Question 3. The Braunvay breed of cattle is better known by another name indicating which country it's from. The Braunvay breed of cattle is better known by another name indicating which country it's from. What is that name? So what's another name for the Braunvay? Question 6. The Santa Gertrudis is made up of a Brahman crossed with what other breed? I think developed in America but very popular in Australia as well. The Santa Gertrudis is made up of a Brahman crossed with what other breed? Question 5. Which country has more cattle, Brazil or USA? Which country has more cattle, Brazil or USA? Question 6. What is the most popular breed of cow in Europe? A simple question. What's the most popular breed of cow in Europe? Question 7. The Chianina breed of cattle comes from which country? The Chianina breed of cattle originates from which country? Question 8. The bull Balmoral Crackle won the Royal Show in 1999. What breed was he? The bull Balmoral Crackle won the Royal Show in 1999. A famous bull. What breed was he? He won a lot of other shows as well, I think. Question 9. What is the record price for a Simmental bull in the UK? So what's the record price for a Simmental bull in the UK? And question 10, the last question. How many cattle capacity has the largest feedlot in the USA? It actually runs 6 different sites, but how many cattle can they handle in one feedlot in the USA? One of the largest feedlot in the largest feedlot in the world, I think. So that's question 10, and that's the end of the quiz. I'll come back to you shortly with the answers. Welcome back. So here are the answers to this week's pod quiz. This is pod quiz number 2, and the first round was on global agricultural shows, so shows around the world. And question 1, where was Palermo show? It's in Buenos Aires in Argentina, in the center of the city, in the Palermo district of Buenos Aires in Argentina. Question 2, when is the Paris show? The Paris show is on in March, and if you're listening to this podcast live now, it's on pretty much this week. I think the Paris exhibition show is always on at the beginning of March. Question 3, the National Western Livestock Show is in Denver in Colorado. So that's the National Western Day is in Denver in Colorado. Question 4, the Chicago exhibition finished in 1975, ran for 77 years. A fantastic show that it was. It finished in 1975. Question 5, Agribex, that European exhibition, there is where all the Beltex breeders will go to look at the Beltex sheep. That's in Brussels in Belgium. The Agribex is in Belgium. Question 6, Canada's Agribition is in the city of Regina in Saskatchewan in Canada. Question 7, the largest cattle show in Australia is the Royal Melbourne. So the largest cattle show is the Royal Melbourne. Question 8, the World Angus Forum is being held in Sydney in Australia next year. I'm planning on going if I can do. So the World Aberdeen Angus Forum is being held in Sydney in 2025. And the Golden Shears is held this year in Masterton in New Zealand. That's where it started originally, and then it's been around the world. It was in Edinburgh, it's been various other places. Back in Masterton this year in 2024. And finally, the Royal Smithfield Show finished with its last show in 2004. We were expected to have another show in 2006, and sadly it never happened. So 2004 was the last Smithfield show. So that's the answers to round 1. Round 2 on sheep. The merino sheep originated in Spain. Bit of a trick question, that one. Everyone thinks it's Australia, but actually originated in Spain. Question 2, the Charolais cattle and the Charolais sheep. The Charolais sheep have 2 L's. The Charolais cattle only have 1. So that's how they differentiate between the 2 of them. Question 3, the sheep that Cammy gallantly rescued from the depths of the Cromarty Firth, or from the bottom of the cliff there, was called Fiona. They named her as Fiona. She was in all the papers and all the newspapers, and she was on the TV and everywhere else. Question 4, the Kerry sheep originated in Powys in Wales. So there are variations of that, Montgomeryshire and various things, but the Kerry sheep actually comes from Wales, from Powys in Wales. That's the answer I was looking for. Question 5, the most popular breed of sheep in New Zealand is the Romney Marsh. That's the mainstay of most of the sheep in New Zealand. Question 6, the second largest sheep producer in Europe is Spain. Spain, UK is the top, and then Spain the second largest producer of sheep, or population of sheep. Question 7, the Zworpel comes from Friesland in the Netherlands. So the Zworpel is Dutch, from the Netherlands. Question 8, were there more cattle or sheep in the world? There are 1.35 billion cattle and 1.05 billion sheep. So there's a good fact for you. There's more cattle in the world than there are sheep in the world. Question 9, Robert Bakewell developed the Leicester sheep. It went on to be the Leicester Longwell and, of course, the Border Leicester and the Blueface Leicester, but he developed his version of the Leicester sheep. And question 10, the country with the most sheep in the world is China. Of course it is. The most people in the world, so it's the most sheep in the world. Answers to round 3, the specialist round on beef, and the French. Number 1, the French call us le roast beef, because we like roast beef for dinner, so they know us as the roast beef. R-O-S-B-I-F, that's how they spell it. Good old French. Question 2, the USA, they eat ribeye. It's pretty much all they eat, I think. They eat ribeye. They certainly don't like rump steak. Everything else goes in the mincer, and they like their ribeye steaks. So that's the most popular one in the USA. Question 3, the tomahawk and the T-bone are different. The tomahawk steak has the ribeye in it, and the T-bone steak has the loin in it, so that's a different cut. They look similar, but they are different, so the tomahawk and the T-bone are different. Question 4, the Wagyu beef is known as Kobe beef in Japan. It is a slight variation on Wagyu in actual fact, but it's not a trick question. The word I was looking for was Kobe beef. Question 5. The 3 grades of carcass in the USA are prime, choice, and select. And so any Americans will all know that there. It's well labelled and works very well for them. Been around since the 60s, I think. Question 4. The country that eats the most beef per capita is Argentina. Argentina don't seem to have any sheep at all. It's just beef, and more beef. So they eat more beef per head than anyone else in the world. Question 7. The USA eats more beef than anyone else in the world in quantity. They eat 12.5 million tons of the stuff every year. So that's USA is the biggest beef consuming nation in the world. Question 8. The French bavette steak is a flank. It comes from the flank of the animal, and that's what we know it as in the UK. Some people think it's the flat iron. It's not. The bavette is the equivalent to the flank. It needs a lot of cooking. Question 9. Storing all that cold beef there to keep the price of beef up in Europe was called the intervention scheme. The intervention scheme that came out in the 80s that cold stored a lot of large carcasses of beef. And question 10, the sirloin was not. It's fabled that it was knighted by Henry VIII, and therefore it was called sirloin, but it's not. It actually, the name sirloin comes from the French, which is sirloin, which basically means over the loin, which is exactly what it is. So that's the answers to round 3. So we'll go on to the final round, which is the cattle round. And the Belgian Blue first came into the UK in 1982. I'll take a year either side. I showed the first Belgian Blue calf at Smithfield in 1983, and it first came into the country in 1982. Brought in, of course, by Tom Ashton. Question 2. The zebu is the word I'm looking for, the one that's the backbone of the Brahmin. That's where the Indian cattle, the zebu, came over and they formed the Brahmin breed. Question 3, the Braunvet is better known as the Brown Swiss. It indicates where it came from, comes from Switzerland. It's a dairy cow from Switzerland, known in Switzerland and various other places as the Braunvet. Question 4, the Santa Gertrudis is crossed with a shorthorn. It's a Brahmin crossed with a shorthorn. Quite common knowledge if you're in those countries. Who has the most cattle, Brazil or USA? Brazil has 194,000, USA only has 89,000, so Brazil has nearly double the amount of cattle that the USA has. Question 6. Most popular cow in Europe is the Holstein cow, of course, the Holstein dairy cow. It's spread across, there's thousands of them, they're everywhere. The Holstein cow I'm looking for. Question 7. The Chianina came from Italy. Originated in Italy, a great big long-legged thing that it is, and been used to lift some of the Angus cattle going back in the 80s, controversially used to make the animals taller, and the Chianina. Question 8, Balmoral Cracker was a shorthorn from John Doughty, I think, that showed him, and he went round and he won all the shows there, including the Royal Show in 1999. He was a shorthorn. Question 9, Overhouse Neo sold in 2023 the Simmental for 46,000 guineas. So he's the record price at the moment of the Simmental in the UK. Overhouse Neo at 46,000 in 2023. And question 10, final question. The feedlot, the JBS 5 Rivers feedlot in Colorado, has 900,000 head of cattle in it. On 6 sites, 900,000 head of cattle in one feedlot. Well, that's ridiculous. It's massive. And that's the biggest in the world. So that's the end of our Toplines and Tales second pod quiz. I hope you enjoyed that, and please tune in to subsequent pod quizzes. And of course, you can go back if you haven't done already and listen to pod quiz number 1. You'll find it on our Toplines and Tales platform.